All right, welcome to our, shall we say, the last week of our intensive in London. Here we are at Ali and Maya's house under the beautiful sunny skies of Great Britain. And we've just been at a visit to the Kenwood House, a pretty significant home where they've been having a Sargent show. And we've seen numbers of other museums associated with our intensive this week. But I'm going to show you a couple shots. And the first one I show you is this one of the Sargent. And I'm going to particularly mention Kevin and the guys back home. John, I think we were sitting there, we were discussing another photograph in which you couldn't see anything in here, and there was a discussion about whether this area was just too empty. This is to you, Kevin and John. That's pretty busy area. Anyway, the lighting notwithstanding and all that sort of stuff, we really have been enjoying the Sargent show, plus, and numbers, by the way, which came from Boston, so interesting. But right in here, if anybody wants to have a little exercise in visual order painting and how you would have to proceed to make an area, just that would be a pretty cool thing to have a look at and try to imagine how you might walk through that. It's much simpler than you think. Visual order thinking is. But so I'm just mentioning that one for this one. But I want you to also note, as we're heading into talking about whether or not Vermeer makes shadows flat and what even that even means, according to the doctrine, shall we say, of the Gamma world, the Boston School. I want to just observe the flatness. This is the very definition of flatness, this shadow cast under this frame here. This is artificial light, obviously, and the shadows are definitely going to be solid, but that's not unusual. It's pretty much what happens, certainly in sunlight, and then just frequently inside the studio. Shadows are flat, meaning they don't have a whole bunch of form and value changes. Flat means one value, essentially. And so shadows are essentially one value, typically. That doesn't mean anything. There's lots of ways in which that isn't true, but mostly it's a really good thing to say, and we're going to be talking about it. So, I'm just going to give you a quick view of our guys enjoying the tour. As you see in the background, there's a Rembrandt, and yours truly stuck in the middle there. And here's the close-up of that Rembrandt. Really, really fun. One I've liked my whole life, really satisfying. I'm going to mention just you might look at the simplicity of this. It's very rich in color, oddly enough, and even though it virtually has no color, it just shows you what you can do with three colors. But there's this gold world, and then the red, and whatever combination of red and gold is here, and then this element of blue. At least it presented as blue. I don't know how blue it is under the, once you have that glass on it, which we're running into in all these museums over here. These quarter-inch plate glass, totally damaging the light on paintings. Anyway. But the issues are what they are. And then there's this last one, and this is where we're going to head off and start talking about Vermeer and flat shadows. But it was just really wonderful to see this Vermeer. I've seen many others. We have some very good ones in the States. And Frick, Metropolitan Museum, National Gallery in Washington. But let's just, before we do any more, let's just give a little thank you to Nancy D. and Jacqueline M. for their long-time support. Your continuing recurring help is just fantastic. Thank you so much. And Wendy, and I think I don't know your name, so I'm very pleased to have you say thank you. I'm learning a lot from your YouTube videos, and that's a nice thank you. So thank you for that contribution very much. All right, let's talk about Vermeer. I'm going to play you a little video of that Mr. Producer produced, if I'm saying that right.
It's more stunning than I thought it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Prepared.
That's a majestic piece of painting, though. The simplicity, that's what you're looking for in your lay-in. It's that much information and no more.
Yeah.
Really simple. Really crazy simple. Magnificently simple.
But it's like simple, but it's not boring.
It's not simplistic.
Yeah.
No, it's really got all the data that should be there. Color changes even.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the beautiful nuanced blue in that hand.
And he makes the values also really simple. Like if you look at that and that and that, like it's kind of flat flat values.
Kind of flat.
No, it's very
Your shadows
flat.
are flat.
Yeah.
So nice. But this passage right over here is a nice example of something you could copy just to see how much you can say with so little, you know.
Yeah.
Not forcing out things. But the simplicity of that light, of that wiggle of blue, it's mostly just quite a simple value. So we're taking a closer look now. It gives you a little taste of what I do, by the way, in museums. But taking a closer look now, though, you can really see this is a shot taken. You see it's at a bit of an angle, so you wouldn't have glare and things like that. But you can see the mentality of flatness of shadows is really noticeable. I'm going to show you a close-up of that. But it's even, in one sense, noticeable here. You see the artist hasn't looked into these sections. He has not looked into them. He's kept the unity of the values, the general unity of value X. So it's what some of your friends like to call compressed values. This is a very closed system. Close would be a better word. Low contrast. So let's just go to the next one. That's where we can really talk about this close up. It'll work better. So now we just start with the head. You'll see how disciplined he is. There's a shadow line here. There's a shadow line here. Shadow line along here, up into here. So that's the joint. And after that, everything to this side is totally minimized. And that's a classic discussion of what the flat shadow is. When we were working with Gamel, the model was, and this is very academic, and no question about it, but it's also very true, but that you draw from shadow line, you find the shadow line, and you flatten that shadow. You'd say virtually mindlessly flatten the shadow. So if we went into areas like this passage down, well, you could even see, well, you take this whole thing from this finger here, right down. You see that light there, but this is going down. This is essentially a flat value, even when it changes to a different material. There are accents of dark in there, but you can see, blur down your eyes just a teeny bit, you'll see the amazing unity of this. By the way, the concept of flatness, one of the things that gives Vermeer his sense of repose, is that he has this wonderful way of keeping simple everywhere where he's inclined to, right? So there's the whole plane of this thing, which is the same value essentially as all this sort of stuff, is of a piece, right? Smoothed out, so shall we say. It's not that we have to go around smoothing out, but what you don't want is jumping textures and things like that. So you can see over here again, you'll see this shadow line and then everything below it, everything to the left of these knuckle joints, which is the shadow line again, simplified into a very, very simple shadow. Now the trick about that is if you make these shadows opaque, they won't look atmospheric, but if you actually get all the color that's in them, they will look atmospheric. So yeah, lots of people will go in there and try to find and overstate the reflected light. So the model that Gamel had for us, very beautifully exemplified by Vermeer, is to see without a little. There will be some reflected lights, just see, his phrase is see without a little, you can make those. But this is just an exercise in flat shadows. As I said before, you know, these little lights, what you have with a flat shadow is almost the sense that there's a pool of water, see a pool of dark water, and you'll see the lights rising like rocks out of the pool of water, these spots of light. But the unity, the sheer unity of all the rest of this, that's a key to the production of atmosphere. But if you go inside there to make every little thing you can pull out and draw forth, you'll lose it. You won't have the same sense of atmosphere. So I'm just showing this as a really nice, even when you go through here, the shadow to the point, this is a midtone here, but to the point the shadow starts, there may be some accidental things. But it's all about maintaining the relative unity. Relative unity is a big word we mean when we say flatness, but the relative unity of a passage like that. And what I said to Selma was, don't you see how simply you might state this at the beginning of your painting? And that is what we do. We're looking for that kind of simplicity, and you may find that you'll never want to go into those places because you'll have what I call such a majestic statement. But the thing to notice about his work is how quiet it is. And that's very much the diminishing of noise in the shadows that makes it so. Of course, he does it in many other ways. But here again, by the way, here's the shadow. So there's a shadow line here in the front of that frame, just like the one I showed you of Sargent. And there's a shadow line over here. This is essentially flat, with the faintest accent of backlight or whatever that is hitting there. So I think you should be able to follow it. There's the hope is to maintain the shadow's flatness right through wherever it ends, way out there at the edge, etc. Maintain the flatness. It's also simpler. So that's probably it for today. Hopefully that comes through okay. And I don't know, I think we're going to be in Paris next week, so we'll see how all that stuff goes. And whether we can get back to you, hopefully we can get back to you with another video from the heart of sort of, what would you say, Impressionist country. Nancy D., Wendy N., Jacqueline M., thank you again so very much for helping us to sustain these for the sake of the next guy. Okay? All right, hope you all have a great painting week. See you next time. And by the way, I need to thank you for subscribing, sharing, commenting. Keep that stuff coming, would you? Much appreciated. All right, next time.